public speaking is a skill. You can be an introvert and still learn the skill. I've had the most extroverted people come to me and they have a lot of work to do on their public speaking skills. And I had a lot of introverted people come to me and they end up being some of the best public speakers I've ever seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, to all our listeners and viewers, welcome to the Luxbridge Show. On behalf of our CEO, John Spinu, our director, Vincent, and myself. Has that happened to you? Have you been tongue-tied? Have you had the deer in the headlights feeling where you want to say something, but it doesn't get out? Where you're squirming in your chair, doesn't feel right? When someone puts you on the spot to say something, but once again, you're wondering if you're able to say it, you lose power. That's what we're about today. We're talking about the power of speaking with our wonderful, wonderful guest, Danielle White, who brings forth what I would like to call a proper life skill. She's going to walk us through her journey. She's going to walk us through why the power of speaking is important and why it's as important as any skill you would want to learn at any age. And this is age no bar. This is a skill you can pick up anytime because, after all, it is a skill. And we've got two guests on the show, actually. Danielle, who you'll meet very quickly, and one more person who shares a lot in common with Samuel L. Jackson, John Willis, Ed Sheeran, Kendrick Lamar, and I will introduce you to him towards the end. It's an interesting journey. So, off we go. Danielle, welcome to our show.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. Lovely intro.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. And thank you for being our guest. So let's just jump right in. How did this come about?
Good. So it's been a long journey. I started acting when I was 5, and I think that's where it all began. I was a very shy and conscious child. So I would overanalyze all of my conversations, and even from my teenage years to my early 20s, I would leave conversations and think, oh, was that really awkward? Or I should have done something different then. So through performing, through acting, I realized that on stage, I could be the most confident character. I could approach anyone, I could do interactive shows. And as I got a little bit older, I began to think, how can I bring this into my real life? How can Danielle, the actor, bring this into her personal life and stop overanalyzing everything? So over the years, that's what I've studied. That's what I've done through teaching, through performing, through coaching. I've discovered how you can bring acting techniques and how you can bring them to communicating through public speaking.
That's wonderful. So we are talking to a multifaceted person, thankfully. I want to know more about Danielle, the actress, or the actor. How did that come about?
So, acting from the age of 5, wow. And I loved it. But again, I was probably a very conscious actor. I remember from as young as 7 years old going to the toilet, and I would pre-plan my improvisation in my head. I knew the techniques that we would do, so I pre-plan it. Of course, it didn't always work that way. You can't pre-plan improvisation. So I began to go to classes. I loved it. I wasn't a very academic child, so having performing arts gave me self-belief, gave me a purpose. So I studied as an actor, and lots of people at the time said to me, would you not do something that will earn you a bit of money? Would you not, go into something else, nurse, doctor? But that just wasn't the road for me. And I went on to study performing arts, then going on to become a drama teacher. And it's been at the fundament of everything that I've done in my life. It shaped my whole life, just going to them drama classes every Thursday evening, rain, hail or snow.
Wow, really? Consistency.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. From a young age, even most weeks I probably didn't want to go, but my mum made sure that I would turn up every Thursday And I'd always end up leaving thinking, I'm so glad that I went. If I had a bad day at school, or I was stressed with exams, or as I got older, I was working and in college, but just doing them acting classes, taking parts in shows. I've done that throughout my whole teenage and 20s. And yeah, the difference that it makes.
Amazing. So this is also something which I think parents should listen to. That if there's a slight bit of hesitance, right, but if you follow through with it, at the end of the day, shout out to your mom, okay, for being there for you and for ensuring that, you know, you took those steps forward. And once you got there, it's like anything, right? Anything, whether you're going to the gym or whatever it may be. But if you're uncomfortable, but you show up for yourself, lo and behold, here you are.
Definitely. I think it's something, obviously, you can't force your child to do something, but in some cases, my mum was quite strict. She did force me to go, and I'm so glad that she did. And I heard a quote a little while ago from Shetty, and he said, everything that's good for you feels bad before, and everything that's bad for you feels good before. So you think the gym, I don't want to go, but it's good for you. But you think a takeaway, oh, I can't wait for my pizza, I can't wait for the weekend, but it's bad for you. So I really think that that is the mindset that we should keep with everything. And like what you said, just being consistent in everything that you do.
Let's start from the point where you said mindset. Now, clearly, if I have a fear of public speaking because I feel I'm going to be judged, how do I use mindset to overcome that?
Yeah, 100%. I think that mindset is 90% of speaking in public. You have to identify your limiting beliefs. We all have them. I had them when you asked me to come on this podcast. Me? What can I speak about on a podcast? You know, I call it our inner critic or our inner coach. And you choose which one should I listen to. Now, public speaking is the number one fear in the world. Why is that? It boils down to, as you said, Dee, the fear of judgment. And that's what holds us back from a lot of things in life. For a long time, I wanted to be an influencer when I was 15, 16, but I wouldn't make the videos. Why? Because I was scared of judgment. So I guess it's rationalizing with yourself and knowing, okay, I'm scared to be judged, but I have to push the boundaries. And those who judge me, are they confident people? Are they happy people? The most confident and assured person, they're not judging others. They're supporting others. They're championing others. So think, the ones that do judge me, do they matter? Does it matter? Not really. So feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, do it. I'm not going to say that, you know, people aren't going to judge you, because it's not true. Some people are going to judge you out there, but should we let that hold us back? No.
So to me, public speaking was, and to a certain extent, is the cold plunge version of speaking. You know, where you get in and you're just shivering and you just wanted to go away, but you know you need to do it. So at that very moment, how do I prepare? What are the steps that I have to take to get ready for it, other than obviously approaching a coach like you? So let's begin there.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head with the cold plunge. It is. And actually, when we're speaking in public, our brain is entering our fight, flight, or freeze mode. So that it actually is generating that cold plunge feeling. And the old part of our brain is telling us, I'm about to die. I'm panicked. I have to protect you. I have to do everything I can to protect you at all costs. 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, because we don't have this training in work, in university, in school. So we don't know how to deal with it. So we then begin to breathe shallow. We breathe from the chest, just like the cold plunge. We breathe from the chest, then we begin to confirm to the brain, you're right, I am doing something horrific and I should be in survival mode. When really, when you know the tools to breathe through your nose, sends relaxation messages to the mind, puts moisture back in the mouth so we're not smacking our lips or getting a really dry mouth. You know, these things are so common. I've experienced them, you know, we all have been there. But it's knowing your triggers as well. So I know for me, my first 90 seconds is when I'm most nervous. Sitting here, my first 90 seconds is when I was most nervous. I'm easing into it a little bit now. I'm conscious to breathe through my nose, to pause. And it's building a routine that okay, I can feel my heart is racing. I know that that's my old brain, my hind brain kicking in. It's preparing for survival. Let me take control, breathe. I know that I have the knowledge. I know that I've worked hard. Let me take a step forward and only think about my message. We get confused. So when we're in a cold plunge, they tell you, focus on your breathing, only think about your breathing. It's similar to public speaking. Only think about your message, only think about your breathing. That's it. That's all you should be thinking about.
So when you're in fear of flight, right? Only think about your message, only think about your breathing. Wonderful, wonderful message. That's a great takeaway. To a lot of us, we don't know the definition of glossophobia. Tell me what that is.
The definition of glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. And it's the number one fear in the world. A lot of people don't know this. I think really interesting statistic is 30 to 40% of people have a fear of spiders, which you think, I actually thought it would be higher, to be fair, because we all know someone with a fear of spiders.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be too happy if a tarantula came, walking in right now.
Absolutely not.
But then when you put it to glossophobia, fear of public speaking, 77% of people admit to having a fear of public speaking. But are those 77% of people talking about it? Not really, but are we talking about our fear of spiders? Yeah, because there's no judgment attached to that. It's common, So I think that, breathing, taking our time, talking, open up about it. I think it's normal. That's why a big thing for me, I tell my clients, I'm nervous when I step on stage. I told you I was scared coming today. It's normal. I think the more we normalize it, we remove that fear of judgment.
Right. So you unburden yourself from that responsibility of being perfect.
Yes.
So do you think sometimes that a fear of speaking is also due to this image that we have to be perfect? And when I speak to you, I can't come across as a goof.
Yes, 100%. This again is all down to the psychology of public speaking. So when we're speaking in public, we're addressing three main fears in the brain. So the old brain, who I spoke about with the fear of death, the brain really thinks that we're dying when we're speaking in public. Then the midbrain is our emotions. Maybe you had a bad time in primary school. A lot of this stems from school, which is why I take a lot of work going into school, stopping it. I've worked with some of the biggest managers in the UAE and some of the biggest global companies. And when we talk about emotion and trauma in public speaking, it goes back to school. So that midbrain is your emotion. And then the new brain is exactly what you said, Dee, is the expectation. We could be amazing public speakers. You could do this every day. You know the questions, you know the way it runs, you feel comfortable. But then John walks in, our CEO, our managing director. All of a sudden, we sit up a little bit straighter and we need to look perfect. I must be perfect. For me coming here, I must know the answer to every single question he asks. Is that fair? Is that a fair expectation to put on ourselves to say we must be perfect? Nothing is perfect. This is one thing I really teach my clients is if you're striving for perfection, it's always going to hold you back. We're never going to have a perfect experience when we're speaking in public because it is that cold plunge feeling. So we need to completely get rid of that idea of perfection. We spoke a lot about improvisation. This is one of the best ways to get rid of that perfection. And it teaches you, okay, I'm going to say silly things. I'm going to look silly. I'm going to make mistakes. My mind is going to go blank. But I can recover. I can get over it. It's not the end of the world. And we lose that fear of judgment.
Right. And then you stack up your wins, don't you? Because you've done it once.
100%. You're building a bank of evidence for your mind to say, hey, you're actually not too bad at this. You can actually do this. Once the brain has a certain amount of evidence, tick, 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 we can go forward and do it. For some reason, we have an expectation of ourselves. We must be amazing public speakers. I must be the best. I must look good. I must be funny. I must be intelligent. And then if it doesn't go perfectly, we give ourselves a big red X, when really we should be saying, hey, I did it. I stepped forward. I gave it a go. Did I stumble on my word? Yeah. Did I maybe phrase something in a way that I wanted to phrase it differently? Yes. But once you do it, you're getting that tick and it's building that self-belief.
Interesting. Sounds like a first date.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
You want to get it right all the time, the best impression every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what makes you stumble more, because it's already a pretty charged up situation, environment,
Mm-hmm.
and then you put more pressure on yourself.
Yeah, but we spoke before about the law of attraction.
Yes.
If I focus on my problem, I'm going to get more of my problem. So when I first started coaching, I used to get a rash on my chest and it would go up to my neck. Not really a rash, a bit of redness that would show that I was nervous. And I was going into corporate events in Dublin, or maybe doing a little bit of acting at the beginning, and I would get this redness on my chest, on my neck. And I would really, really, really dwell on it. I'd think, how can I be a public speaking coach with this thing that is showing so clearly to my audience that I'm nervous? So I'd really focus on it. I'd wear shirts. I'd look in the mirror before I was going on. It would be all that I was consumed with, and it would come every time. It would come mighty. It would last for longer than usual. So then I decided, okay, I know that I'm good at my craft. I have experience now of evidence that's telling me, hey, you're getting good at this. You're pretty good at this. You're getting good feedback. I'm feeling more comfortable as well. The more that you do something, you get more comfortable. So then I said, if I do get this little redness on my neck, on my chest, is it the end of the world? Does it mean I'm a bad public speaking coach? No. So when I stopped focusing on it, it doesn't come. Now I'm worried. I'm like, is it there? But it doesn't come, because why? I took my attention off of it. I took my focus off of it. When we're speaking, our working memory is engaged. So whatever you put into your working memory. So if I was putting into my working memory, is the rash there? Can they see it? Does he notice it? Oh, he's going to think less of me because of this on my chest. So that's what I was getting. Same thing if we focus on, what will I do with my hands? God, I'm not too sure what to do with my hands. Then that becomes the forefront of our message. And that's what happens. So what you put in your working memory, that's why I said about breathing and just your message, then that's what the mind is going to produce.
Right. What you perceive and what you conceive and perceive is what you end up achieving.
Yeah.
So if you conceive negativity and you perceive negativity, essentially you're going to put it out. That's so interesting. And does this affect, or is there such a thing as an extrovert and introvert when it comes to public speaking?
Yes, I love this one. So this is one of my biggest things, and one that I really love to hit home with. So for me, it depends. When I'm comfortable at home, my best friends, if they heard me calling myself an introvert, they will be laughing. People maybe that met me at the beginning of my journey in the UAE up until 2 years ago when I was working as a teacher, if I told them I was an introvert, they would probably agree. Yeah, I wasn't the loudest in the room, but you can still be an amazing public speaker and confident as an introvert, so I'd consider myself maybe an introverted extrovert, because whilst I do love to socialize and I can turn on that confidence when needed, Danielle, the public speaking coach, is an extrovert. Danielle, who's in an environment where she's just met people for the first time, is an introvert. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to be extroverted, to be confident, and that means I'm a good public speaker. But a thing that kind of gave me that reassurance is I listened to a podcast from Simon Sinek, and he's one of the best public speaking coaches in the world right now. And he said that if he was at a networking event, someone asked him, where would we find you? And he said, you'd find him standing at a table with a drink in his hand, overthinking what he would be saying to others and probably wondering when he could go home. Wow. And for me, that made me realize as well, it's okay. We don't have to pretend to be these extroverted characters as well. Same thing as a drama teacher. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself and think, I'm a drama teacher, I should be really showy and really out there and electric. And I thought, there's different types. You don't have to be that way. If that's not you, Just be true to you. And if you're an introvert, you're 100%, you said it at the beginning, public speaking is a skill. You can be an introvert and still learn the skill. I've had the most extroverted people come to me and they have a lot of work to do on their public speaking skills. And I had a lot of introverted people come to me and they end up being some of the best public speakers I've ever seen.
Well, who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
And they must really open up then, right? They just become a new person.
Yeah.
Or they discover the new person within them.
That's the thing. Sometimes I refer to it as creating a character. Like that Danielle, the public speaking coach, is different to Danielle at home as a fiance, or Danielle in a new environment, or Danielle when she's comfortable with her best friends. We have different versions of ourselves. And not that we should pretend to be these different people and have different personalities, different personas, but we do have different versions of us. Dee, the podcast host, is different to Dee at home or with his friends or, you know, with your family. We are different. And I think it's channeling that confidence of creating Danielle the speaker, Danielle the businesswoman, Danielle the podcast guest. You know, it's creating all these versions of ourselves.
Very interesting. So it is, and I say this is interesting simply because it's different avatars, right? Game face on, right? We wear different masks. However, not to give a negative connotation to it, it's just a version of you. There are skill sets which you call forth at that moment, and then that comes into play. When you're public speaking, you know you need to put forward a few points, and it has to be said in a particular way. You said when we spoke off camera, we talked about Ryan Serhant. We're in realty.
Yes, of course.
Your partner's in realty also. So what is it? Tell me what he tells and what he expects and how he recruits. Give me a brief on that.
Yeah, so Ryan Serhant is one of my idols. Weirdly enough, he's in a different industry. He's in real estate, but he started off as an actor.
Yes.
Moved to New York as an actor. I'm sure you know a lot more, yeah. So he actually doesn't allow anyone to join his company, Sell It Like Serhant, unless they take part in an improvisation course, which I think is genius. And it's how, when I'm doing corporate events, it's how I get them on my side as well, real estate brokers, you know, so they can relate to it. But he says that when they have an open house, maybe several agencies have it in New York, and they're trying to think, how can we be different? How can we step outside the box here? And other brokerages are thinking we can get champagne, we can do a video. He said his agents are thinking, let's get elephants from the zoo and parade them up and down the street with our logo on it. And, you know, they're thinking outside the box. Why? Because they take part in improvisation. They step outside of the box. And he also said that, especially being a leader, being in management, your day is always different.
Yes.
People come to you with the problems they can't solve themselves. So you need to be quick. You need to think quickly with that. You need to be adaptable. You need to be flexible. How do you learn these skills? Improvisation, which is a massive part of what I teach. You can become an amazing speaker if you have a script, if you have a PowerPoint, if you have hours to prepare. But if you didn't have time to prepare and we had to do this, then maybe that's where all the bad habits come in. Our filler words, saying things that we think, oh God, why did I say that? You know, so improvisation really prepares us for the unknown. And that's what the public speaking is. That's what public speaking is. It's the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen when we're out there.
Very true. Very true. It is. It is preparation for the unknown, isn't it? World leaders, they get through that. When you're sitting in a news conference, any question could come at you. Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey, she's big on improvisation. Jeff Bezos, big on improvisation. Of course, Ryan Serhant. You know, so it's something that really should be looked into.
So would you say, from your experience, obviously you have rather inside knowledge of realty, thanks to your partner.
Yes.
How important is public speaking as a skill for real estate agent or an estate agent across the world?
Well, public speaking was voted the #1 employability skill in the world. So I think that says it all, no matter what industry you're in. For real estate, I think it's the biggest skill that you can have. It's sales, it's selling yourself. You could have the most amount of knowledge on an area in Dubai. You're a palm expert. if you can't articulate that, if you can't articulate your ideas to the client or sell the vision, tell them about the palm and really immerse their senses there, the smell, the taste, what you see, what you hear on the palm. If you can't bring a client or a developer or whoever it may be on that journey, you're already losing the battle. You know, and in Dubai, the market is so competitive. They can just go to the next broker.
Exactly.
You know, so really selling yourself and connecting through communication is number one. It's vital for me, I think.
Right. It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
You have to be able to talk the talk. Absolutely. And then you can walk the walk, because there's a lot of people who would have the same product. However, what differentiates you from them is how passionate you are and how much you believe in it. And that self-belief has to be, very well said, articulated. Let's talk a bit more about articulation. How does one acquire and practice articulation?
A lot of clients come to me and they say, I hate my accent. I don't like my accent. What we go through in the coaching sessions is you don't hate your accent. You hate your articulation, your pronunciation is incorrect. So a lot of people, they, you know, especially in the UAE, English is probably their third, fourth, fifth language. So they learn Arabic first, let's say. They learn Arabic through their articulators, which is our lips, our tongue, our teeth, our jaw. Then they try to learn English through the same articulators, and it doesn't work.
Right.
Because in English, we elongate everything. We really open our mouth. We hold onto our vowel sounds. And we don't do that in a lot of other countries. Italian, they keep the jaw tight. They roll their words. So when you try to use the same articulators from your mother tongue, it doesn't work. Something's off. So for me, with pronunciation and articulation, best way is tongue twisters. Because you're opening your mouth, you're retraining your organs of articulation. So for example, I grew up in Dublin, despite the accent, but my mum, she has a very thick Dublin accent. So I'd always do with her, she likes the way she speaks, she wants to speak the way she speaks, so she doesn't want to change it, that's fine. But she would say, this, that, these, those. That's in Ireland, some people, how they would pronounce their THs. For articulation, it's bringing your tongue to your teeth ridge. This, that, these, and those. At the beginning, that feels really uncomfortable. It felt uncomfortable for my mum, for clients to bring this. You know, I could see the discomfort on people's faces.
Right.
If you do that every day, all you're doing is retraining your articulators. Exactly. It becomes muscle memory. You're retraining it. The brain is so intelligent, picks up things quickly, and it will know, okay, this is my Arabic articulators. This is my Urdu articulators. This is my English articulators. Once you just make new habits, we've been speaking the way we speak for 20, 30, 40, in my mum's case, over 50 years.
Right.
So to retrain that, is it going to happen after one session? No. Is it going to happen after one tongue twister? No. It takes time, practice, as we said, consistency.
Articulators. Interesting point, because that's how we learned the language, and that's how we speak the language. Having said that, shout out to my friend Christina, who told me that EPITOME is not epitome, it's epitome.
Yeah.
For the longest time. I mean, since you're brave enough to put yourself out there and talk about your vulnerabilities, I might as well say that.
Good.
Right, there you go. Yeah, it's not epitome.
Yeah.
It's
And so we have a lot of things. What I look at in my course as well is heteronyms. So for example, she wound around the wound. This is really hard for English. So wound, W-O-U-N-D,
Wound.
and wound, they're spelt the exact same. So when we're learning English, when we're learning pronunciation, they're like, no, but this is the same. It's not, you know, it's hard. I think English was voted one of the hardest languages to learn in the world. And our 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, and U, make 27 different sounds. So when you're trying to learn English, how can these 5 letters give you 27 different sounds? You know, it's hard.
That's a lot of
It's
permutation
hard.
combinations, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that ranking. It is definitely one of the tougher ones to speak.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is the language of business. And it is the language and any form of communication. I mean, when you say public speaking, you could be speaking in any language.
Yeah.
Right? I like the fact that we touched upon the fact that it's a skill. It comes through consistency. It is something that you have to recognize, right? And you have to accept. And then you have to possibly even go into your bathroom. A lot of actors, I've done that, where I've walked into the bathroom mirror. The sounds and the echoes are perfect over there, by the way, always. Right? And in your car.
You can recommend it.
And in your car, yes. The acoustics are wonderful,
yeah.
right? And you hear yourself. And does this, okay, now here I am, all of 50. Would it be unrealistic for me to think that maybe I can get better at this age? Is it an age-bound skill?
No, definitely not 100%.
Tell me more.
You can, like any skill, could you learn to ride a bike if you went out on your bike every day and you had someone guiding you through it? Or could you learn to swim if you had someone, the right coach, the right instructor at 50, 60, 70? Of course, 100%. It's a skill. The more that we practice, the more that we learn, the more that we do our homework, do the assessments, and learn the knowledge and apply it. Knowledge application in public speaking is at the center. Anyone who wants to get better in public speaking, I'm sure they're familiar with all of the personalities on Instagram and YouTube. If you watch all their videos, is it going to make you a better public speaker? It will help. If I read a book on swimming, is it going to make me a better swimmer?
Beautiful.
No. But I think having the knowledge first is very important. Having the knowledge, knowing what you need to do, and then applying it, that's how you see results. That's how you become a better public speaker. And in a safe environment as well.
There you go. There you go. So define a safe environment for me.
For me, especially as a teacher, my whole mission was to create a safe environment, especially for kids, they feel really exposed, and public speaking is where we feel so vulnerable. So it's taking away that fear of judgment. It's creating a space where we all feel a little bit wacky. In my events, I always say, if you don't feel silly, you're not doing it right. And I think that's the main part, is creating an environment where you think, okay, I can let loose here. I can be a bit silly. I can make mistakes. No one's going to judge me because she just made the same mistake a few minutes ago. Or he's made that mistake, or she told me about when she was beginning and this happened, So it's making sure that people feel like they can open up, they can make mistakes, and they can learn from their mistakes. And that's how we'll grow. That's how we create that environment.
That's interesting. So you should be open to making mistakes in a live setting. And that's where you pick up and you learn. And I think this can connect back to a lot of people in realty, where we go for a showing or a viewing, as we call it over here, interact with the client, and then just wish, I wish I hadn't said that. that shouldn't have come out, or it should have come out differently. So as a realtor, how would you advise me on the daily to come back? Do I need to rethink my meetings? How did it go? Or how would you guide me as a realtor?
I think structure is always really important. Sometimes, again, it goes back to this introvert, extrovert. We feel like we need to speak because we feel like that's the right thing to do. But I really focus on your why. Why are you speaking? Why would the audience be engaged? Why? You must have purpose when you're speaking. So don't speak for the sake of it. On the viewing, let there be silence. Let the viewers take in the message that you're delivering. So make sure you have structure. We're not just rambling. Again, improvisation really teaches you this. You're not rambling. There's a message behind what you're saying. So always have your why. Then silences. Allow for pausing. Breathe. Take your time. Ask the viewers questions. Bring them on that journey. Incorporate storytelling. That's how we learn. That's when the mind is most engaged, when we're listening to stories, when we're sharing experiences. As humans, we're always looking to connect through experiences. That's when we really build a bond with someone. So bring that in. It doesn't have to be, this is the bathroom, it's 1,000 square foot, this is that, here's the view. It doesn't always have to be that. connect. And 9 times out of 10, I know when we were looking for our apartment to rent, that's what we looked for in a real estate broker was, could I connect with them? Were they genuine? Could I relate to them in any way? And I don't know if I'm going to relate to you if you just come in, walk me through the apartment and leave. So know your why, allow the silence. And I suppose more importantly, be you, be authentic, which comes with time and practice, I know. But at the beginning, just ease up. Don't take it so seriously. That would be my number one in public speaking. Don't take it too seriously.
I love this. Okay, here's what I'm going to take away from this, amongst the other things, obviously, is that I always used to perceive my clients as clients. They've come to view a house. Now I'm going to tell myself, these are my viewers. This is my masterpiece. This house is what they've come to view. I want to let them have their quiet time to view it, rather than have me chirping in the background, stating the obvious that this is a bathroom. Yes, pretty evident, right? I don't need to state the obvious. And distract them from that moment of, wow, am I coming in? Because if I go back to when I'm window shopping or browsing or whatever, at that point in time, if I have someone chirping in my ear,
puts you off. You wanna leave, or you wanna say, just let me have a look.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. All right, and we're going to swing back to a little bit of a wonderful thing that you've done. You've done charity work, and no one always likes to talk about it, so I'm bringing this up, right? You went to a beautiful country, right? My awesome director is from there, right? And you guys bonded like brethren. So tell me more about that and tell me where you went.
Yeah, I went to Uganda. Same thing. I went with the mission to teach public speaking there. Acting, public speaking. We looked at poetry, improvising, drama. Of course, something that they don't have in the school system. They're trying to get through, with what they have, English and maths, and do the best that they can. So I think it was a life-changing experience for me.
Oh, wonderful.
I met amazing people. The guy who runs it with his wife, I lived with them. It's not as if you have your own campus and you go to school. The boys that I taught, I lived with the boys in the house. We made breakfast together, we made dinner together, we walked to school together, we walked home together, you do the weekends together. So it was like intense. It was probably one of the hardest things that I've done in my life. And also it taught me that sometimes, especially in Dubai, we're always so consumed with ourselves. When I first got there, I'm not going to lie, it was a big culture shock to see where I'd be staying. I didn't have a shower. I had a hose hooked to the wall, and sometimes when there was water, they said, it's a blessing, because there wasn't always water, So first of all, when I got there, I was quite consumed with myself, thinking, how will I get through this? How can I do? And then I had to sit with myself and think, good job you didn't come here for you. So stop thinking about yourself. And the kids that you meet, their souls are really different. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. Yeah, something that I definitely want to do again and again and again.
Amen. Beautiful country, beautiful people.
Yes.
And I got a fantastic director, I can tell you that. So isn't that wonderful, right? See how life is so beautiful. You come to Dubai. This is your first podcast. Yay for us, right? And it gets directed by someone from Uganda.
Yeah.
What a beautiful small world we have.
Always aligning, yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Always aligning. All right? Absolutely. So let me ask you, why does Danielle always do hard things?
That's a good question. Yeah, a good question. I think, again, it probably comes from my childhood. So my mum would always, when I was in school, she worked 3-4 jobs. She would leave one job to come and collect me from school, and then I'd have to sit in that job while she finished and come home. And I think maybe watching that upbringing, I think it instilled into me that you have to work hard. You have to do lots of things to work hard. And I think when I was in college, I had to work full time when I was in college. I had to pay for my degree. And I think that just taught me that you have to work hard. You have to do multiple things in order to live the dream. And leaving teaching was probably one of the hardest things that I've done, because I was so comfortable. I was teaching and coaching. So I was earning 2 good salaries. I would leave school at 3:00. I wouldn't work the weekends, and it was really comfortable. You know, I knew what I did. I put on productions. I'd done that for years. I work with kids. That's my comfort zone. So it was comfortable, but to really reap the rewards of looking after my mum, so that when she gets to a certain age, hopefully she can move to Dubai and we can support her. I wasn't going to get that.
She will.
Yes, I'm manifesting it. She's
She
probably
will.
going to listen to this like, no.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, my teaching salary isn't going to get me to where I want to be. So I think that's why always looking at the bigger picture, and you have to do hard things, you know, to get to where you want to be.
You're a huge manifester.
Yes.
Let's go there.
Yeah, definitely.
Take us there.
So I think like most people, I guess, my manifesting journey began when I was probably at my lowest. I think that's probably the same for most people. But back in 2014, 2015, it must have been. And I was going through a heartbreak. Of course, I was very young, so you're very dramatic. You think that it's the worst thing in the world. So I had applied for universities. And for me, as I mentioned, I wasn't very academic in school. So I trained to be an actor. And for me, I got accepted into a university where you get your level 8 degree. At the time, that was success for me. I didn't know what I would do with this degree, but it looked good to my friends. It looked good to my teachers that maybe thought I would never get a degree. So yeah, for me, that was success. So I did my audition, which in Ireland, you get a certain amount of points to go towards your university. So my audition, I knew, would cover my points if I didn't make up academically for the points. So going back to the heartbreak, I did what any heartbroken teenager, early 20s does, and I moved to Ibiza. I said, I'm getting out here, I'm going to Ibiza. Even though I hated every moment in Ibiza, it wasn't me, I wasn't aligned in Ibiza, but I went. And you have this really big day. It's called your CAO. That's how you accept your university offers in Ireland. So I said to my friend, let's go down. I'm showing my age here. We had to go down to an internet cafe. I don't think we even have any internet cafes anymore. But I had to go down to the internet cafe and accept my offer, my university, which this was in the July. I'd be starting in the August. And this was the biggest accomplishment for me to get my degree. I think I would have been the first or maybe second person in my family to go to university. So it was big for me. And I went down, opened the computer, and there was no offer. So I didn't panic. I thought, must be a mistake. I know I got in. I have the letter at home to say I did the audition. So I rang the university from Ibiza and I said, just calling, it's Danielle White here. There's no offer. Is there a glitch? And I'll never forget, as blasé as anything, she said, oh yeah, we didn't get the numbers for that course. It's not going ahead. It's discontinued. To me at that time, she was telling me, of course, I've learned as I grew up, it's not the end of the world. But for me at that time, she told me that my future was over. My career was over. She told me at that time, you're finished. You're not clever enough. You're not good enough. That's what I heard. So I'm hysterically crying in this internet cafe. My friend at the time was getting really embarrassed. It's not cool to cry in internet cafes in Ibiza. So he's saying, please stop. I'll get you a job. You can work in a cafe. So 1 minute I'm getting a degree, next minute I'm staying in Ibiza, working in a cafe. It wasn't part of the dream, wasn't part of the goal. So I flew home, I went back to Dublin and had to go to something called a PLC. It's basically if you don't get into university where you have to go. And the fear of judgment, I guess, that confirmed to me, yep, you weren't intelligent enough, that's why you didn't get in. And then again, added with the heartbreak. So actually my mum introduced me to manifesting affirmations. So she said, this is obviously a tough time. You don't feel great. You've had a lot of changes. You left school. You feel like everything's up in the air. Everything was a transition, everything in my life. So that's when I started doing affirmations. So from 2015, I would say I'm positive, I'm strong, I'm successful at everything I do. And I've said them every single day until now. At the beginning, I'd have tears rolling down my face saying it, but now it's a belief, you know, and it's that university shutting down. If it didn't maybe I wouldn't have found manifesting, affirmations. I probably wouldn't be in Dubai because I would have had my degree from a long time ago. And, you know, I thought that was my plan. But when that crumbled, it introduced me to law of attraction.
There you are. Something closed, something opened.
Yeah.
Our CEO, John Spino, who you met off camera, always says this to us, that take a diary, take a book and write it down. Mm-hmm. Write your dreams down. What you want, write it in specifics. And I want to give a shout out to my colleague, Sergey, actually. Mm-hmm. Sergey has this beautiful check that is written to himself, a large sum of money that he sticks on his a cubicle. And I'm so proud of him for that, for his journey. And I know he's going to hit that. And it's wonderful. And in fact, another colleague of mine, Angelica, she closed a really big deal. And it was because of her manifestation. Lo and behold, whether she did it in that process or not, but she thought about it. And that thought turned out. And I bring this in this conversation of realty is because a lot of real estate agents face the dark unknown, a chasm which we can't seem to cross. But I think what you just said, manifestation helps, right? You write it down and you keep telling yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And when I go back to Dublin, I still have a scrapbook that has, I will move to Dubai, I will drive a Range Rover, I will, you know, all these things.
Specifics, yes.
Yeah, really specific. And every time I've written, for example, September was my first month officially working for myself. So I spent some time in Dublin in the summer and I every day wrote down exact figure what I wanted to earn in September. And September was the best month that I've had. If I was a teacher, it would have taken me nearly 4 months to earn what I earned in my first month of business. And only the other day I thought, I've took the foot off the gas a little bit with consistency and I haven't had as good as a month as September, but I haven't written anything down. And I think that's the difference. When you write it down, you solidify it. And then you let it go to the universe. And as we know, it will work its magic.
It'll work its magic.
Yes.
Another shout out to a great guest I had, someone I really look up to, Cameron Hutchinson. Him and his beautiful wife, they sit down together towards the year end and they write things down.
Yeah.
And they really work on it. And he's a big believer in manifestation. He's a big believer in writing things down. Mm-hmm. He's a big believer in being specific. So shout out to him. He was one of my guests and he was amazing. You know, and you know, I see a lot of successful people like him and like yourself. So as a realtor, it would help me. You're saying, one, power of public speaking, self-belief, to not get into the limiting side of the things.
Yeah.
Right? Writing my goals down, writing my numbers, what I want to achieve down, so I solidify it. Mm-hmm. And then being consistent about it. Because at the end of the day, as you said, you can't learn how to swim by reading a book.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I even know from my fiance being in real estate, he had a figure as a screensaver on his phone. And that's the exact figure that he done, which won him an award at Allsop and Allsop.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, for the most commission generated, you know. So I think definitely writing it down, setting them goals. If we don't have goals, if we don't have purpose, we kind of drift through, you know. But when we make that goal, it's like entering a contract with us and the universe, saying it has to come through, you know.
It has to come through, yes, exactly. And I you know, it's so important for us to have that contract with ourselves. I love that. I really, really appreciate you bringing that point up. What other contracts do you think in the realm of public speaking and mindsets? Because we've touched upon so many wonderful topics, right? Yes. Public speaking is just the end result. Mm-hmm. What goes on behind is getting your mindset in place, talking to yourself, coming out of your shell, your old previous personality. What are these things? If you could just give it to me, you know, sum up to me how one goes about it and how everyone puts it into the power of public speaking.
I guess, as we've said, it is consistency. So making sure that you do the public speaking course and then keep on practicing, apply the skills, be consistent with everything that you do in life and think, okay, I have an inner critic, I have an inner coach. Which one am I going to go with today? Which one is going to benefit me? And that's what I tend to do in all scenarios. Coming here today, going for pitches to some of the largest companies in the UAE, is it going to benefit me to have self-doubt and question myself? Or is it going to benefit me to do my affirmations, to do my breathing, to practice, to be positive and to believe in myself? Which one is going to benefit me more? So always rationalizing with the old brain, the midbrain, the new brain, and saying, actually, I'm going to choose my coach today. I'm not going to choose my critic. And that's half the battle, is that mindset.
The bard, Shakespeare, said correctly, all the world's a stage.
Yeah.
Right? And do you feel, being an acting coach, that as a realtor, when I wake up in the morning and I put on my suit and I go out there, that I am playing a role? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. You're stepping into that role. And if you're a real estate who's also a leader, you're a sales director, you're a leasing director.
Interesting.
You're different. When you're a broker, you're in broker mode. But when you're a leader, you have to put on that leadership jacket and make sure that you come across as authentic, with authority, that when you speak, your team listen. And we do that through stepping into that character. Does it feel uncomfortable? Does it feel awkward? Does it feel, this isn't really me? Yeah. But the same way, if now we sat down to learn the piano, would it feel uncomfortable and unfamiliar for me? Yes, because I don't know how to play the piano. But if we sat every day, every week, and you guided me through how to play the piano, eventually I'm going to become really good at playing the piano.
Sure.
You know, at the beginning, I'm not going to know what to do with my hands. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But the more that you do it, the more consistent you are, and give yourself time and be positive to yourself. We don't want to critique ourselves all the time. I wasn't good in that meeting. I messed up on that viewing. I shouldn't have said this, shouldn't have said that. That's 10 steps backwards.
So you have not only talked the talk, you have walked the walk, because you were vulnerable about your issues when you went on, right? I did say at the beginning that I would bring in a guest.
Yeah.
Right? Surprise, surprise. This guest has something in common with, as I said, not John Willis, Bruce Willis, all right? Samuel L. Jackson, Ed Sheeran, Kendrick Lamar, and for the Indian listeners, Hrithik Roshan, all right? Because this person stutters a lot. And this person I know stutters so much that initially, in initial days, he couldn't put a sentence together when he was 5, 6, 7, and then went on to discover Toastmasters and so on and so forth. That person is me, and I just want to put it out there that if I could cross all those steps and sit across someone who's a powerful coach, I think everyone can. It's as simple as that. I mean, I started before the podcast, maybe during and maybe after, but it doesn't stop me from being who I am. It didn't stop you from being who you are, Danielle. Mm-hmm. You have graced us with your presence on behalf of Vincent, on behalf of our team, on behalf of all our agencies, on behalf of the crew, the cast, on behalf of our CEO, John Spinu, on Decoding the Dream, because you helped us really decode the dream. And the dream is to be a good speaker. Who doesn't want to be heard? Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for coming by. Really, really honored and really privileged to have you.
Lovely. Thank you for having me. It's been amazing. You've been so kind. It was amazing to meet everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Hope to have you back soon.
Definitely.